All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Facebook Live with the Spondylitis Association of America, staying active with spondyloarthritis in the midst of a pandemic and anytime. My name is Rachel Zaman. I'm the programs coordinator at SAA, and we're joined today by Alex Levine, who is a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer and fitness nutrition specialist. Um, Following his own diagnosis of ankylosing spondylitis, Alex has developed expertise in working with clients with SPA and other medical conditions. Alex, much like SAA, believes that movement and exercise play a crucial role in managing SPA symptoms, and he is eager to share his thoughts and passion about this approach. Thanks for being with us, Alex.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Of course, our pleasure. So first, please tell me a little bit more about yourself. What led you to become a personal trainer, and what led you to shift your focus to working with people who have spondyloarthritis?
Yeah, a little bit more about me. I currently work as a personal trainer in the Boston area. I have my own business where I see clients privately, mostly through virtual training, and I work at the Massachusetts General Hospital Wellness Center. Yeah, what led me to become a personal trainer, really started when I was diagnosed with AS or ankylosing spondylitis. Exercise played a critical role in my treatment and really helped improve my symptoms early on. But at the time I became aware there weren't many personal trainers working in spondyloarthritis or other chronic conditions. That's what really inspired me to gain more expertise in the area and help really work with and educate the spondyloarthritis community on exercise and fitness.
That's great. So when you learned that you had spondyloarthritis, did that change your own exercise routine? And if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I was first diagnosed, I was very active at the time. I was mostly playing sports and doing traditional strength training, but I knew I had to take on a different approach to better support my body and my long-term health. So I really went more into a holistic approach early on. I started including more walking. I tried yoga for the first time. I did more stretching, and even weekly sauna use became part of my routine. So when I started to really feel the benefits from those things on my mind and body, they really became a staple of my exercise program, and they still do today. That's what really makes up my program, those types of things. So, looking back, I can really say it was good for me to open my mind up a little bit to different exercises. I felt like before diagnosis, I was a little more rigid about exercise. I just thought I'll play sports, I'll do traditional strength training. But when I opened my mind up a little bit, it really brought me to so many different, incredibly, healthy behaviors and movements. And I truly can say I think I'm a lot healthier now than I was when I was diagnosed because of this.
That's wonderful. That's great that you tried all these new different modalities.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a big change for sure, but it's important.
yeah. Can we briefly discuss how physical activity benefits those with spondyloarthritis in terms of things like posture, flexibility, maintaining mobility, range of motion?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exercise and movement has been shown to be an integral part of the treatment plan to help manage or counteract the symptoms of spondyloarthritis. Just overall, I think activity can really influence quality of life, general well-being, and daily function. To talk specifically about, integrating all these different forms of exercise. So just movement and blood flow, strength training to support the posture, balance to support the body, and just low impact cardiovascular exercise. These things are what really can improve posture, help improve breathing capacity, really help maintain flexibility and mobility, and even help control some pain and fatigue.
Hmm, that's interesting. Yeah. Um, so regarding fatigue, can you just talk a little bit more about how this helps you with that aspect?
Yeah, it's interesting because you would think that exercise could make us perhaps more tired
Exactly.
from strenuous exercise, but the key is definitely to find that balance of the right amount of exercise, choosing the right exercises, the safer, more progressive exercises, to then get the blood flowing, get joints moving, get the muscles kind of woken up if you're just restarting the program. So doing those things can really just help support, honestly, energize the body, get the endorphins going after exercise. And really just when you start feeling better, when you start to move more, that really can, be so crucial for mindset and just positivity for yourself, self-confidence.
I'd love to talk about that. Yeah, the benefits of exercise on mental and emotional health, because right now there's so much stress out there, and I'm sure we're all looking for ways to kind of alleviate that.
Now is an incredibly important time to, just try to stay positive, do whatever you can, just exercise wise, that's safe and comfortable on your body. I can't stress enough, just a little movement each day can provide incredible benefits. So that slower approach to just get started, make it a routine, make it a habit, for me, especially during this time, just to get out and walk every day and say, okay, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, try to do that daily. And then over time, you start to feel the benefits and you say, all right, this feels pretty good. Let me keep walking. So, just getting going can be just an incredible start.
Yeah. And you said something before about mood impacting motivation. I love that. So it's like a chain reaction here.
Yeah, I think so. I think all these things can play together. It's important to use, exercise as a tool to really help us. And that's, what I want to talk about today, just using it in the safest way possible, but to get the most benefit out of it.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about how we can incorporate movement throughout the day, especially now as so many of us are staying home more. And what kinds of exercises do you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, we're faced with unique challenges right now. We're home more, but I still think there's so many things we can do and just get some more healthy behaviors going. So one thing I really like to stress is if you haven't worked out in a while or you're just starting a new program, start slow with that safe progressive approach, but choosing kind of small exercise goals at first to get going. So like I was saying, go walk for 10 minutes a day. You can stretch for 10 minutes in the morning. Start with small goals and really just try to build it up in a safe way. I think that's really the best way to look at, okay, I'm home, what should I do exercise wise? Like, where do I even start? So those are two great approaches. I kind of have some broader approaches, broader themes that I focus on with my clients and myself, and that's trying to change positions as much as we can during the day. If you do have to work, if you have a desk job and you are sitting for most of the day, I really strive people to try to get up every 15, 20 minutes, if possible, of course. It can be hard if you're working and you can't get up, but do your best to get up every 15 to 20 minutes, stretch, walk around the house, realign the posture. I think this kind of unstructured approach, along with the structured, is just crucial for mindset to then continuously do it during the week and while we're home, especially.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some best practices and general safety principles to keep in mind when exercising? And related to that, what kinds of safety modifications to traditional exercises might be necessary for somebody with SPA who may have some mobility restrictions?
Yeah, absolutely. Two great questions here. Just some general good safety practices that we want to kind of pay attention to. Like I was saying, we really want to use exercise as a tool to help our symptoms, not make them worse or put us at greater risk of injury. So again, start slow. I think it's so important to listen into your body during and after exercise. And that's choosing safe exercises that you can work progressively. Some things I like to kind of pay attention to myself, and I talk to my clients about this, the fatigue aspect too. Are you fatigued after you worked out? Are you feeling pain during your workout? We really want to pay attention to the body, make sure that we're using exercise for good, not to cause more pain or more fatigue. So really pay attention to your energy levels is one thing, and just how you're feeling during and after exercise. And I'll get to the second question. Is that
Sure.
just the first question? Yeah, of
There's
course.
so much more.
Yeah, the safety modifications. I think it's important to be aware that there might be some safety modifications, and that really goes for everyone. There's no one size fits approach to exercise. For me, I've seen this from myself over the years. It's really important to just understand that we all have different unique circumstances when it comes to our health and fitness. So it's important to just understand that with, spondyloarthritis in particular, we're paying attention to maybe not too much turning, twisting, impact on the body. If we are doing strength training, I think it's important, start with lighter weights and maybe do more repetitions at first and focus on form instead of, loading the spine up with too much weight or loading the body up with too much weight. And that goes for the low impact cardiovascular also. We want to choose low impact at first, walking, swimming, cardio that doesn't require a lot of strain on the body. And these are the things that I think can really energize the body, and then you find the right balance over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great approach. And something you mentioned when we were speaking earlier, you said it's important. Don't get discouraged. Um, that I feel like that can really just take down a person's confidence. If it's not going well in the beginning, what do you do about that?
Yeah, for me specifically, I've definitely been discouraged when I first started doing yoga. A lot of it felt great, but some moves just weren't working for me specifically. And at the time, I couldn't really wrap my mind around that yet. But instead of kind of getting rid of yoga, I think it's just important, then stick with the exercises that feel good, modify the ones that don't. So it's just about finding that right approach for you. It took me a few years to that's why it's important to listen into your body, so then you can find the right approach moving forward. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take a little break to address some questions that are coming in. We have a question from Tiffany. Since I started exercising regularly, my flares are much more well managed. I'm down 45 pounds and just almost, feel better than I was before I was diagnosed. More energy, less pain. That's a great comment, and congratulations, Tiffany.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Congratulations. That's incredible.
Very cool. All right. We have a question from Irene. Do you have any recommendations for stretches or exercises for chest pain or tightness?
Yeah, a lot of us are faced with chest pain, tightness maybe in the front of the body from, perhaps sitting, perhaps maybe a little forward posture from just inflammation in the SI joints or the back. I'm going to be going over a few of those today. I definitely consulting with the doctor first about the chest pain, just to see what the specific cause is, because there's many different, kinds. There could be chest pain versus just having tight muscles in the front, or maybe both. So it is important to, see your doctor first to know the specific cause, so then you can address it in the best way. But yeah, I do a lot of exercises for just tightness in the front of my body. I'll call it my shoulders, my chest, and maybe the neck, just from us trying to remain upright, supporting our body. Those can get, a little more fatigued. We might need to stretch them out a little more, but got some good ones today that we'll show you and go over those.
Fantastic. It's a great lead in to the next part.
Yeah, that's the lead in right there.
But first, a couple more questions. Question from Diane. Do foam rollers help reduce inflammation?
So foam rollers, a very hot topic in health and fitness, especially the past 2 years. Now we have hundreds of different kinds of foam rollers. People are using lacrosse balls. People are using ones with spikes in them. We have the vibrating foam roller now that you plug in and does that. So we have all these different kinds. I think it's important to be kind of individualized with this one, because it has been recommended certain symptoms you don't want to foam roll because it could be putting too much pressure on your back. There are a few ways we can use the foam roller in a safe way, but I think it's a really individualized approach. As you can tell, I have a lot of thoughts about the foam roller, but my main one is I think it has to be individualized. Regarding inflammation, it can be, for some, it can be a technique that, that helps them kind of just release some tension in the body, maybe calm down a muscle that's working overactive. But with inflammation, I can't give an answer. That is definitely a case-by-case situation. That's a great question, though. The foam roller is, I try to figure out sometimes if the foam roller is what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah. And like you said, individualized. There's so much about spa that's, case-by-case basis. And, no two people may have the exact same presentation of symptoms. So
absolutely. Yeah. I've been known to use the foam roller, in the past. I definitely changed my approach and took a little more gentle approach, but that was just for me specifically, and a physical therapist kind of guided me to the best direction that way. But I did have to change my approach because I used it a little too much and didn't specifically target where I wanted to.
So that's interesting that you just mentioned physical therapy, because we do have a question about physical therapy that I'm going to ask now. Question from Brittany. Have you tried physical therapy to help with your symptoms? and perhaps learn any new exercises that may help deal with pain.
Yeah, thanks, Brittany, for that question. Yeah, early on, I went to physical therapy. I had a lot of shoulder and hip problems in my early 20s. So I went to physical therapy to learn rehab, learn even like prehab, things to get me ready if I was going to continue to play basketball, to get my shoulder ready. A lot of things I learned in physical therapy I use today as a personal trainer. I think it's just so important to talk to a physical therapist. It's even great to get different opinions. I've loved just reaching out to different physical therapists to hear their different opinions on just good movements, good practices, their specific techniques. I think everyone really has a different technique, and it's incredible to just take as many as you can that'll help you. So a lot of the physical therapy things I still do today, this is like 10 years later, and I'm still in my living room doing my shoulder rehab with my band. So if my physical therapist is listening, they'd appreciate that.
That is a big compliment to your physical therapist.
I don't know if they're here right now, but if they were, they would stamp of approval.
Excellent. Okay, well, so now, if you don't mind, can you please demonstrate some stretches and exercises for us that would be helpful for everybody watching today? And please talk us through how you're maintaining safe positioning and form.
Absolutely. So I will be switching rooms for this. So if everyone can bear with me for 10 seconds.
Absolutely. Here comes the home tour. And while you're doing that, I'll just give a quick disclaimer note. If anybody's following along at home, please modify these exercises as appropriate so you aren't doing anything that hurts. And remember to consult your physician before starting any exercise program, since each person has different needs. All right,
yeah,
Alex.
Thank you. And if anyone has any questions about or specific areas, we've already mentioned maybe tightness in the front of the body and the shoulders. If anyone has any other areas, they want covered, some different ideas that they can look into, ask away, and we can see what we can do. So, I really wanted to show some things today that integrate this approach we've been talking about. Posture, remaining upright, strengthening certain muscles to help with posture. And, we've been talking a lot about mobility and flexibility and range of motion. So today I just want to cover a few of those that we can just kind of do at home on our own, no equipment needed, just a nice wall that we have here. So what we're going to do first, this is just a nice postural check I like to use during the day, especially if I've been sitting for a little bit. Like I said, it's nice to just check the posture, just realign ourselves. I really like to use this one consistently throughout the day. So the first one is, you get a wall. I hope you all have a wall that doesn't have anything in the way like I do. So what we're going to do is, standing about a foot away from the wall, you're going to line your hips, your shoulders, and your head the best way you can, just against the wall. And, if this is harder to do, you can get a longer stance, a wider stance. The feet aren't as important as what's going on in the upper body with this one. So with this alignment, we're really trying to make sure there's not too much space in our back. So what we want to do is, and this is where the core strength comes into effect with posture and the upper back strength, as you can see, squeezing my shoulder blades a little bit together. So what we do with the core is, by engaging the abs, if we have an arch here, we can help flatten that arch by engaging the abs, kind of pulling your belly button towards your spine here to really just engage your trunk, even your glutes. You can squeeze a little bit as if you're doing a bridge. So that's what we're kind of looking for. We're trying to use the core, we're trying to use the shoulders to help us get in that correct alignment. But this is a great tool to use, but it is one you have to practice a little bit, because maybe our alignment's off a little bit. Maybe we've been sitting. So like I said, this is just a great kind of unstructured approach. Grab a wall during the day, feel this out a little bit. And when you're here, feel this out a little bit. All right, try to straighten the head, try to maybe squeeze the shoulder blades together to work the upper back. So then you can start thinking, all right, I'm getting some good core strength, I'm getting some good shoulder strength. That's kind of the first thing, if you're restarting a program, get going with some nice postural exercises, continuously do them. So I want to show a couple moves out of this first position that I find really helpful, just to then start working mobility, flexibility, range of motion. So I got two angles here for everyone. So what we're working is the same setup with the feet about a foot away, hips, shoulders, and head are against the wall. And this is where this becomes a core strength exercise. Keeping the core engaged, so the low back is touching the wall the best you can. you can then start getting an overhead reach to really break up the tension, maybe in the front of the shoulders. But for me, especially, this is the upper back for me. And the key here is, which makes it just a great postural exercise, a great strength exercise for the core, is we're keeping the abs engaged and we're not arching the back. So keeping it tight through here so we're not overly arching. And what you'll feel is incredible just core strength, but also now we're getting a nice stretch in the back because we're in great alignment. So I really, that's one of my favorites just to do during the day. It is important to only do it if it's comfortable and safely progress it. And I think, we talked about don't get discouraged. This one for me feels different every day. Some days I'm a lot tighter than others, especially in the morning. But for me, it's like that long-term approach. Let's remain consistent the best way we can. Try not to get discouraged. Keep on loosening it up the best way you can in a safe, comfortable way. So for me, really just stick after it. Any safe exercise that you can progress, stick after it. Even if, there's a tough day in there, keep going. I can't stress that enough today. So another one out of this position, because I love this position so much. Same alignment here. And this is a little more progressive because of the positioning of the arm. We're going to come into a bit of a door frame angle. And this might just be good for people right here. A nice stretch in the front, a nice stretch maybe in the upper back. But if you really want to get crazy with this one, we can then start going overhead, just like we did with the arms the other way. So again, we're working the abs, we're remaining in that strong position, and now we're getting some nice mobility, some nice movement, and we're even working range of motion overhead. So those are some of my favorite, just let's get moving during the day. And also, if you have a program now, you can add some of these in. I like to add these in before an exercise program, and then say, all right, let's get a little more aware of our posture during the exercise. Let's realign ourselves. Let's get loosened up a little bit. So great tool in many different aspects.
Yeah. I have a quick question about these wall positions you're doing. Just let's say there's somebody who has trouble getting their head against the wall. What kind of modifications would you suggest to this position for someone like that?
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. That's a great question. So with this one, it's not just about going all the way back. It's about what's the safest, most comfortable for you that is going to just get you aware of a nice upright position. Don't worry if your head can't come all the way back. Some days I have a really hard time getting my upper back, but just do the best you can in the safest way. So if you're working it and you're not in a position, if you can just get here, that's fine. You're working here as best you can in a comfortable way. And then you can start building that up. You can start saying, okay, I have this good position here. Let's hold this for 10 seconds. Let's work the shoulders back a little bit. So wherever you're at, it's not just about being against the wall. Use the wall as a tool to continue to, get your body more aware of positioning and keep working it. That's very common. This is very hard for all populations to do, all fitness levels, because of just sitting more, for everyone, this is a really hard position. And I do this a lot with my clients, and it's a continuous, it's hard to get into. It's hard for me, but I find that it's incredibly useful. You can really start getting some great mobility out of that position. But wherever you're at, keep going with it. It'll keep coming, keep progressing it.
That's great. That's wonderful. And it seemed like that last one you did where you were sort of raising your arms along the wall, that addresses that question about getting a good chest stretch, right?
Yeah, so great transition. We talked about the chest stretch, and this one is more of an exercise when we're here in this position. It's more of an exercise. We are getting a stretch, but we're really working the abs in the back. But to get a nice kind of chest stretch to calm down these muscles, one you can use during the day, I want to show you a few variations. Similar to that one, what I really like to do is grab a wall, grab the side of the wall. What we're going to do is get our palm on there, or if that's too tight, if you already are feeling that in the forearm area, you can just get your fingertips on the wall. And what we're just going to work on is turning away from the body to really get a nice stretch through the shoulder, through the chest, all the way to the other side. What I find with tightness in the chest is it can really sometimes radiate down. A lot of people know about this, will radiate down the forearm to the fingertips. So I really like this variation because it addresses this whole body approach all the way from the fingertips, even to the other side. You can work on turning a touch if that feels comfortable for people. So this is one of my favorite door frame ones. There's a lot of them where we bend the elbow and come in this way. But this one is definitely my favorite because of the aspect of the hand all the way up, which can really get tight. So, with this one, you can work this up, start with 15 seconds or whatever's comfortable. Just start with comfort. Couple seconds here, reset, shake it out a little bit. If it's already starting to pull. For me specifically, I really feel this in my forearm. But, you can work this up to 30 to 45 seconds. Stretching for me, I think is important to do it to comfort and work it up like it's an exercise. We don't want to be just kind of in pain through this one. We're trying to find some relief. So trying to breathing through these is extremely important, which I never do, which I'm doing now since I mentioned it though. So breathing through them, bringing a relaxed state to the body when we do want to stretch out the body. So that's a great one just to address the tightness through here. One of my other favorites is to address kind of the neck, the side of the neck, with the similar, if we have a little forward posture, a little tightness in the neck and the shoulder. So what I like to do is turning one hand out, we're going to very gently pull our head to the opposite side. And I turn this hand out to get the shoulder down and back. Because again, with stretching, we're trying to promote good posture. And I can't address that enough. Posture is the foundation of everything. We're really trying to include it in everything we're doing, especially during exercise. That's the first thing we want to think about, our posture. Our core is engaged. We're protecting our body with just our strong muscles. So what we're going to do, turn this hand out just to kind of drop that shoulder back. And you can continue to try to get that shoulder down and back and very gently pull the head to the other side. And what this does is just get a very nice stretch through the neck, even maybe down to the shoulder. With stretching the neck, I really don't like to tug it too much. I think you have to be very gentle. There is movement we can get in the neck where you're moving, but when we're stretching in particular, take a gentle approach. Once you feel a little stretch, that's where you hold it, not where it's too invigorating on the body. Again, we don't want to be wincing in pain. Ease into this like exercise. That's definitely the best approach.
Yeah, that sounds great. Just when you start to feel it a little bit, that's when you know where to kind of start, right?
Absolutely. Once you feel it and and really concentrate on the area we want to feel it in too. I think it's important to put our mind to that area. When we're doing exercise, when we were talking about the abs, really think about the mind being engaged there. Bring some awareness to the body. So just think about what we're trying to do here. Just trying to relieve tension. So once you start feeling it in the area through here, that's when you would hold it and continuously work it up.
Yeah. Before you mentioned something about breathing through the exercise. And I love that because, breathing in itself can be such a good stretch, a good chest expander. So how do you incorporate that?
Yeah.
And I know you said you weren't doing it, but if you were to do it.
I kind of lied. Breathing is just so important to me.
Yeah.
Yoga, which I didn't want to do initially, brought me to so many different avenues of mindfulness, breathing techniques, even meditation nowadays. So breathing to me is such a big part of exercise. That's why the cardiovascular is so important, because of the breathing capacity, the chest expansion, the heart health. But breathing during exercise is crucial. For me, when I stretch, I really like to take slower breaths just to kind of calm the body down a little bit. And I really use that tool throughout the day. Slower, even longer exhales. I like to go through the nose with the inhales and then exhales, just to kind of relax my body. Even during exercise, if we're, for me, I can feel a little discomfort when I'm starting up a program or starting up a routine in the morning, just because of a little bit of tightness from sleeping. So I like to use the breath first to calm the body before exercise. So yeah, there's incredible breathing techniques out there. A lot of them go with yoga, but there's just so many incredible ones. I think we're going to be putting a list of some good resources, and there's a good breathing technique on there of a great resource that we're going to put at the end that, included in your health and fitness approach, included in your exercise, during exercise, use the breath, use your mind. It can all be such incredible tools. So take it all. Whatever helps you, include it all. But yeah, we can sometimes forget about all these different techniques. Like I was saying earlier, I was very single-minded on exercise, but just kept looking and trying to find new things.
Yeah. So just before you mentioned first thing in the morning, you might be a little bit stiff. I know that's an issue for a lot of people with spondyloarthritis. What are some good first thing in the morning stretches that you would recommend?
Yes. So every morning I get right into it. I want to start the day. I want to feel, I want to just get some good feelings going during the day. If I'm particularly stiff, I want to just get some movement and also just break up the discomfort, get the body moving, get the blood flowing. So every morning you'll only my wife sees this, but she'll see me kind of doing all these different things, stretching, moving, walking around the house. But we'll get a little more specific for everyone else. So, my technique is kind of just moving. So what I really like to do in the morning, this is a great one to do during the days, is in yoga, the downward dog people do on the floor. It's a great stretch for the upper back and the hamstrings. But in the morning, I like this. Sleeping too with sitting, we can sometimes sleep with our head forward or with our shoulders forward. So what this does is really can break up that tension and realign the posture and just get us thinking upright. So what I like to do, I'm going to show a couple of variations. Hands are about shoulder height. A little bend in the knees here. Our feet are about, hip width, shoulder width. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sink back through the hips here. So the knees remain where they are. And now we're letting our body kind of glide down into this great position where we're breaking up a lot of tension in the shoulders and the back, but also we're able to get a nice hamstring stretch. So if you want to add a little bit at the bottom, you can shoot the knees back to get the hamstrings even further stretched. If that's too much discomfort, just stick with the first position. So I really like to use this to break up the tension in the shoulders, upper back, but also for me, it's getting my arms overhead without working now. I'm allowing my body to sink back. So what this position is a nice overhead, just, we've been talking about just elongating, stretching the body, remaining upright. So that's what this does is really, then you're feeling sky high after this. You're feeling incredible. So I really like to use this, my clients use this kind of as a warm up when we exercise, if it's comfortable for them, just to really get that posture going, a nice stretch in these tight areas that can come about. A couple of different variations. If your shoulder hurts in this angle, you can use a few different tools around the house. You could use a countertop that's maybe a little lower, a chair. But if your shoulder, hurts in this angle, you can kind of just get on the forearms and working that same position. The hips are coming back. And the same idea, we're kind of releasing tension in the back. We're elongating and just becoming kind of taller, which I need a little more height, so I use this one a lot.
That's awesome. So it sounds like this position is about posture and stretching and range of motion. It kind of ties it all together.
Yeah, I like the total approach. So these things are just, I like to choose stretches that support posture because our number one goal is to remain upright, to remain strong in a great position. So I just like using stretching, our strength training, mobility, range of motion. All of it is really thinking about our posture and just trying to, get those muscles going. So I love this one. There's many different ways to do it. If you are just looking for more of a upper back shoulder release, you can go high up on the wall. And again, working that range of motion at the top and then just sinking forward. And what this does is, again, it really drops the shoulders down and back. And that's really the position we want to get into. The shoulders are down and back, but in a comfortable way. So this kind of helps you get into that position, but at the same time, break up a little tension in the upper back if you're feeling that. So yeah, a lot of different mechanisms. That's why I think the downward dog's been around for a long time through yoga. I really like, there's a few of these just ancient exercises that I couldn't, speak higher about. Just like the downward dog is incredible. It's like, what a brilliant mind to come up with that.
Yeah. And I love that you've adapted it for the wall. It's great for somebody who maybe can't get down on the floor, has trouble in different other positions, but just being against a wall makes it more accessible.
Yeah, great to add in during the day if you're having a hard time getting down on the ground. for sure. You can, and the walls also can be used as just an anchor to help the body get into these positions, so it's not too much strain. You know, working this, you can work some different angles if you're feeling tightness in different places. So this is one, in a safe manner, of course, ease into this one like everything else. But you can find what's best for your body. Specifically for me, I like to kind of run through this motion where I get down to the bottom, I shoot the knees back, I feel the stretch, but then I bring it up to then get, like we've talked about, the blood flow, movement in the joints, a little more range of motion. So, in the morning, I'll run through this one, I'll feel the stretch, I'll bring it all the way up, push the wall away a little bit, and I'm just working, it's a great routine to do all these different things we've been talking about, integrate these different things.
Fantastic. We have some more questions coming in. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of them?
I love the questions.
Okay, sounds good. Question from Marie: how do you keep motivated? I'll get into something and then a flare will occur, which makes it difficult to continue. It's way too easy to let the lack of exercise take over when it hurts to exercise.
I've absolutely been there. Yeah, that's, I'm sorry that happens to you. That it can be tough when, you're feeling good, you're on a great program, you're doing exercise, then you come into a flare. I have that a lot. I still try to pick up basketball, playing basketball leagues, and I'll have a lot of flares in my SI joint, in my hips. But over time, stay with it. Don't let the flare discourage you. Just because you're in a flare doesn't mean, it's going to be there every day, the rest of your life. Really do your best when you're in that flare. For me, a lot of mental health practices to get me through it the best way I can. And then, just try to remain positive. Once you're feeling better, get back to it. Keep getting after it the best way you can. But I completely understand. I've been there. But just think long term. Continue to do what you can that's safe and comfortable, and it'll continue to come together. You'll keep feeling good, and keep trying to deal with the flares the best way you can. It can be tough for sure, but just do the best you can and keep going with it.
Okay, we have another question along those lines from Atira. Is it possible to overstretch during a flare-up?
Atira, I love that question. That's phenomenal. Yeah, I think, for me, I used to stretch out a little, and this is going to be an individualized thing, of course. Everyone is completely different. For me, I was stretching out a little too much during a flare, and for me, I just step back a little bit. Like we've been talking, do some nice breathing techniques. And I just step back a little bit and I actually found different techniques that helped me more than overstretching. But it really took, me talking to different professionals, getting different opinions. And I found that, for me, movement was better, low level movement during a flare instead of overly stretching. But that was very specific to me, but keep trying to look for professionals for different approaches. We really just there's so many great ones. Once I found a few that worked for me specifically, like I was saying for my SI joint, those have really made the flares a little better and more tolerable for me. So keep searching for different approaches, keep talking to different professionals, and I think that's a great approach.
Yeah, and another question along those lines. What are some good beginning steps for somebody recovering from a recent flare?
Yeah, and of course, we're talking about the motivation after a flare, and just you want to feel confident in what you're doing because you don't want to go back to that spot. So it is important to start in the right place so then you can start feeling the benefits again. Some of these things we've done today, like I was saying, just make small goals. Make exercise a habit, make it a routine, make it really part of your lifestyle where you may be walking for 10 minutes a day, you're stretching in the morning. Some of these things we've been doing today, just, becoming aware of your body, getting moving in this low, impact cardiovascular would be great. But, set your mind to a goal that you can really achieve. Give it 1 to 2 weeks, start walking every day, and then hopefully you start feeling some great benefits from that and you can continue to progress it. But just get moving in the safest way possible. But set your mind to it and keep going, and, the best way you can.
Great. Another question from Evie. I know you addressed some range of motion positions there, but Evie is saying, I have very limited range of motion in my hips and neck. can't turn my head all the way to the sides, and hips are very tight as well. Any recommendations for exercises for range of motion for somebody with those restrictions?
For the tight hips and neck, so one of my favorites that some of my clients make fun of me for is this little neck drill that I like to do specifically, where I like to try to incorporate these. If I have a lot of tightness in my neck too, and I try to incorporate these other techniques to just kind of help me get there, right? So one of them is this technique where one palm is down and the other is up. And what we're going to do is we're going to look towards the palm that's down, but we're going to keep switching it. It's just kind of a technique where we're switching it because, again, we're getting that shoulder down and back, and we're trying to comfortably turn. So I like, the movement drills, trying to find some different techniques, maybe thinking about, all right, let me lower my shoulder down a little bit. So thinking about the whole body here, let me use my back a little bit to keep finding more range. So keep looking for new techniques, especially in the hips. We'll go over this at the end, about using resistance bands for kind of hip range of motion and to strengthen the hips. The hips can get very tight if it might be from the SI joint. In particular, the hips can get really tight, but there are a few drills. I can show a nice stretch here. I have my handy chair right here, so it's a perfect time for a nice hip stretch.
Great.
I hope everyone likes this old school chair I got here. So
it's very fashionable.
Thank you. So what we're going to do is crossing one, and of course, before you start doing the hip stuff, be aware if you've had a hip replacement, and speak to your doctor about some of these, hip related ones if you've had a hip replacement or hip surgery. So I just want to, say that it's important to get that. So what we're going to do is just cross the leg, and I'm going to show you two angles here. What I really like to do, this might be great. For me, this is great. I'm already feeling it in the back of this hip, and I'll show you the side angle here, just in the back of the hip. But if you're not, there's two variations where you can just tug your knee towards your body, just help with that range in the hip, get a nice stretch. But you can also lean forward a little bit. And I'm leaning forward, I'm trying to be upright. I'm not trying to slouch. So again, we're supporting good posture, we're supporting good hip mobility. Leaning forward a little bit, you can feel a nice stretch in the hip. So, even if you're having trouble getting down on the ground, use a chair, start adding in some of these different techniques. I also like kind of getting motion through the hips. So I'll move this out of the way. Some nice ways just to get motion, and you can do this supported just for balance, is just getting motion in the legs here. So a bit of a windshield wiper, we'll call this, where we're just working in comfortably. We want a comfortable range. We're working some movement. So again, for me, I found sometimes stretching, sometimes movement helps with symptoms. So let's look for different techniques. There's so many of them. So I like the windshield wiper. I also like just rocking, getting motion in the hip, working on range of motion. And again, work this supported at first. You can work this up to about 20 repetitions each. So think about, don't just think stretching, think about getting some motion in there. Some low impact cardiovascular will help a lot too with the blood flow, specifically in the joints, just to get them moving, get them loose. So just some different techniques to think about.
Very good. Okay. So getting back to kind of some of the questions we've talked about, regarding different types of exercise like cardio, strength training, stretching, balance, how much would you recommend? How slowly should somebody start who may be new to exercising or hasn't been active recently?
Yeah, like we've discussed today, for someone who's starting up again, start slow, and again, don't get discouraged, just find a small goal, just keep after it. The most important thing with exercise is to exercise much as comfortable on your body and can tolerate. So really find that nice balanced approach, especially when you're starting back up. My biggest recommendation really is consistency. It's been shown that just 20 minutes a day can have incredible benefits, but if you're not there yet, it's okay. Start with 10 minutes, start with 5 minutes. I can't stress this enough. Just a little bit of movement every day, that consistent approach to me is what I really, my biggest recommendation is consistency. Instead of kind of maybe a one strenuous workout a week, an hour of strenuous training. I'd rather see, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, because we are thinking about being upright, continuous blood flow, movement. So really start thinking about just a consistent approach. Don't worry about, oh my God, I have to work out. I have to sweat. I have to work out for 2 hours. We can get a great workout. We can still work hard, but it's about finding that safe, effective approach that we're then working it up in the right manner, but we can absolutely still work hard. Everyone is going to have a different kind of, it's going to be different for everyone, but just keep going consistently and you'll start feeling the benefits, start including more. And I think that's really the best approach, recommendation wise.
Sounds great. We have a couple more questions here coming in from Facebook. One from Heather. Is there anything that helps with tailbone pain? Most stretches or exercises are difficult because of it. Also, she is 1 year out from surgery on her lower back.
Yeah, with the surgery on the lower back, with the tailbone pain, I think it is crucial to go to a physical therapist first, see what, work with them, see what the best approach is, because again, there could be different mechanisms at play here. So maybe, with stretches, maybe you want to tailor it more movement. Maybe you want, it might be a different approach. So I would definitely, check with a physical therapist. Again, that they really can give some great approaches, some great consistent things you can do. So then they can see, are you feeling better? And if you're not, they'll tweak it for you and continue to tailor it. The tailoring of the program is so crucial because physical therapy, especially, they'll keep track of your movement patterns, your pain levels. So really just keeping track of that is just so important, especially if you are still feeling pain after surgery.
For sure. And another question here from Sherry. I have severe enthisitis almost everywhere. All stretches seem to make it worse. Would icing first help? Anything else?
Yeah, a lot of the spondylitis.org forums, we talk a lot about different holistic approaches, the shower, getting in warm water. I get in the shower and I get moving in there. Be careful, of course, maybe hold on to something, but using the water as a tool, swimming can be I haven't talked about swimming yet. Swimming can be a fantastic tool to get joints moving. It just helps the body. It's easier on the body. So one great way would, get swimming or just get water, just something to help you move a little better. For me, I love getting in the sauna. Unfortunately, a lot of them are still closed because of the pandemic, but using hot water now is my tool to get moving in the shower safely.
But also as far as like icing and cold therapy, yeah. that also works for people?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got on a hot therapy.
The shower soapbox.
the cold therapy, I'm a huge fan of the cold therapy. You could certainly try it out if a physical therapist or doctor is okay with that. You could try out cold therapy. I'm a big proponent of cold showers and cold therapy. I've built that up though, like anything, in a safe, progressive way. So I would never tell anyone to go take cold showers. But the cold therapy can be very helpful. There's a ton of these different tools for sure. Icing, try it out, and again, listen to your body. How does it feel? Did it respond well afterwards during the workout? So really listen and try some of these different approaches. I use the shower a lot to get moving, but I also use the cold a lot before and after exercise.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, another question. What should we look for in a personal trainer if we're interested in hiring one ourselves? Are there specific credentials to look for?
Absolutely, yeah. Firstly, with just education, you want a personal trainer with an accredited certification from a personal training organization. You can find the accredited list online. Aside from that, you're really looking for a personal trainer who's going to give you a personalized approach. Personal trainer, personalized approach. You want someone that's going to really, put the effort in, especially with spondyloarthritis. We want them maybe talking to your doctor, your rheumatologist, your physical therapist, so everyone's on the same page, putting together the best treatment plan possible. I can't, stress that enough. Make sure they're all working together, if applicable, of course. But personal training wise, it's so important if you do have a physical therapist that they're on the same page. They've shared notes, they've shared kind of expertise. with that, it is important to find a personal trainer that has experience, of course, working hopefully with spondyloarthritis, but if not directly with spondyloarthritis, maybe other similar chronic like pain conditions or arthritic conditions. So find someone who's worked with, everyone's gonna have obviously a different circumstances, but find someone that's worked with similar like conditions. So you can really feel comfortable going in there and just feel comfortable about them putting in the work to make it personalized for you.
That's great. And I like what you mentioned about having communication between the different people that you are getting advice from. That's important to have like a care
Yeah,
team that's integrated.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any exercise props or products that you recommend that would be helpful for those with spondyloarthritis working out at home?
Yeah, I mentioned the resistance bands, a little bit earlier about just getting hip mobility. I love resistance bands. Great to have at home, especially they're a little more affordable than gym equipment or dumbbells. You can also, travel with them very easily. They don't take up a lot of space in the house, which is always good, right? But resistance bands, so I really feel like they were made for spondyloarthritis. We've been talking about integrating this whole approach of stretching, posture, range of motion. So what they can do is really, they are a form of resistance. So you can get in, you can use that for strength training, but at the same time, they can help us get into these great positions. So I have a few here, a few too many here. Some of you have seen this in physical therapy. These ones here, there's tons of different ones. The key is, I'll explain the key once I go through all my toys here. There's one for the hips, like I was talking about, where you put them around the knees or the ankles to work on hip mobility and hip strength. But today, there's also loop ones where you can put under the feet and get some nice stretching going. But for today, I kind of want to show what I mean by this whole approach, strength and a stretch. So the band pull apart is one of my favorites. Again, there's resistance on here. So these usually come in like packs of 3 or 5, starting with light to heavy. So, this is just a lighter band here. What I'm going to do is this band pull apart where I'm starting with my hands straight ahead in front of me. And I'm keeping them straight as I pull apart. So what I'm doing here, I'm squeezing the shoulder blades in the back. So again, I'm getting a nice stretch in the front of my body, helping with posture. But at the same time, I'm squeezing my shoulder blades in the back to really then get that upper back strength. So it's doing these two mechanisms. We're stretching, but also getting strength where we want it. We want some good strength in the upper back to keep us upright. So I love the band pull apart here. This is one of, there's hundreds of exercises. Physical therapists use bands a lot for rehab. What I find is they can really just integrate all these things that we're looking for. So I can't stress the bands enough. Amazon, just Googling resistance bands. I find a lot of stores have them. So there's tons of places to get them. They all can be used similarly. There's some with handles, some don't have handles. But again, we can use them all in a similar fashion with a little resistance on there.
And you recommend starting with the light band. You mentioned that there's like light tension, medium, heavy. So I imagine you start, easy as possible.
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. Start with a light band. These can actually be kind of deceiving. There's some, they've made really heavy bands now because people are now using them maybe to do an overhead press. They're really using them to mimic kind of gym equipment. Use it kind of like a pull down machine where they start with the band high and they pull down all the way. So some people are using the very heavy ones. I don't use those. I also like to use kind of the less resistance, maybe more repetitions. And of course, starting out, start with the light resistance, and you'll kind of find, oh my God, this is different than I thought it would be. Great tool to get into these great postural positions though, and still build strength. So I can't stress the bands enough. I have them everywhere, as you guys can all see.
I have to say, every time you say the word posture, I find myself kind of sitting up straighter in my chair here.
My whole talk, I sat for the first half of it. So all these things were good for me to realign. I'm also trying to be very aware for everyone.
That's great. We have a question that kind of ties into what we were just talking about from Larry. Is a feedback type posture support strap worth investing in to help build muscle memory for correct posture?
Yeah, there's a lot of different posture support devices now. I've gotten this question a lot. I think this is important to go to a physical therapist or doctor first for your unique circumstance. If you do have one, or if you're looking into getting a postural support system, or some of them tell you if you're in poor posture, I would still be mindful of doing strength training and still working the muscles, because sometimes you can see that some of these just pull your shoulders back, but don't kind of think about the rest of the body. So I still would advise keep the strength training, still do postural stuff on your own without it, just so it's not doing all the work. We want to make sure we're still utilizing muscles, or else, the more you put that on, the more it's going to do for you. So just make sure the whole approach you're thinking about just using the muscles, strengthening, doing the postural things on your own. And even if you do use it, still, think about the core, think about you using the upper back also. So try not to let it do all the work, or else we'll go down maybe a path of misalignment if it's just pulling the shoulders back. That's a fantastic question. I've gotten that a lot, and there's a ton of new products now too. So this is definitely can be individualized to the product, because there's so many. But yeah, that's a lot more of those these days for probably a good reason.
Yeah. But you're saying not to rely on them too heavily, and not to be so passive when you're using such a product.
Yeah, I think the passiveness, with sitting, the passive nature of sitting is what can lead to us to become stiff, because we're not utilizing certain muscles, especially the legs. When we're sitting, you can find a lot of tightness in the legs when you get up because of that. We're not utilizing the muscles. We're not keeping them moving. The body likes that. The body likes movement. It adapts very well to movement. With sitting, I think it needs to be reminded, all right, let's get upright, let's get moving. So yeah, definitely be mindful of that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so people are asking how to get in touch with you. What would you like to share as far as where to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. As I've mentioned, I'm a personal trainer in the Boston area. I currently do virtual training with many with spondyloarthritis, and do a lot of support group personal training work with the spondyloarthritis groups. So you can reach out to me at alexlevinefitness@gmail.com if you have any questions about my business and just what I do. You can also, my website is alexlevinefitness.com. So either, you can check out more about me or reach me at my email.
Sounds great. And I love that you do the virtual training. That's so important right now.
The virtual training is fantastic. We can still, we utilize whatever the client has. If they don't have any equipment, we just get moving. The virtual training, I found you have to wrap your head around it at first, but it's become my main approach is virtual training. I'm able to connect with so many others, just not in Boston now, just around America, those with spondyloarthritis. So I found it just incredible. I've met so many incredible people, and we're still able to do just great work. Honestly, we're able to, just get a great workout in, and from the comforts of your own home too. So it, right. It's a great approach.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we've just about reached our hour here. So thank you so much for your time. Please check out SAA's exercise video, Back in Action Again, for tips on exercises recommended specifically for those with spondyloarthritis. And thanks again, Alex, for this amazing presentation. It's been so helpful.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. And again, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Take care.
See ya.